I never thought moving just a few miles away could turn my life upside down. But here I was, caught in a bizarre battle with my old HOA neighbor, the infamous Karen, who decided to sue me for living outside her precious community. It sounds crazy, right? How can someone be sued for simply living somewhere else? Well, Karen made it her mission to prove otherwise. She was the type of person who loved control, and when I stepped outside her carefully guarded neighborhood boundaries, all hell broke loose. From the start, Karen was relentless. She sent letters, made calls, and spread rumors, trying to intimidate me into backing down. But I wasn't about to let her bully me or ruin my peace of mind. What she didn't expect was that I had a few surprises of my own. Things that would shake her up in ways she never imagined. I knew this fight wasn't just about property lines or HOA rules. It was about standing up for myself and refusing to be silenced. As tensions escalated, Karen's calm, collected facade began to crack. She thought she had all the power, but that all changed the day I showed up with something unexpected. The moment she saw what I brought with me, her confident smirk froze. It was like she couldn't believe her eyes, and for once, she didn't have a snappy comeback ready. This isn't just a story about HOA rules or petty disputes. It's about what happens when people push too far and what it really means to fight back. But what exactly did I bring that left Karen speechless? And how did this all lead to a legal showdown neither of us saw coming? Stick around, because the next part will reveal everything, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Before I dive into what I brought to that meeting with Karen, it helps to understand how we got here in the first place. For years, Karen ruled her HOA like a queen. Everyone in the neighborhood knew her as the Karen who would call the cops over the smallest things, like a kid's ball in the wrong yard or a trash can left out a little too long. She loved to enforce the rules, and if you didn't follow them exactly, you quickly became her target. I used to live just inside that community, and honestly, I tried to keep the peace. But after a while, it felt more like living under a microscope than in a friendly neighborhood. So when I found a new place a few miles away just outside her jurisdiction, I thought I was done with the drama. Little did I know, Karen wasn't ready to let me go that easily. Soon after moving, I started getting strange messages and warnings from her and the HOA board. They claimed I was breaking some sort of agreement or contract, even though I was no longer part of their community. Then came the lawsuit, accusing me of violating HOA rules, even though my new home wasn't under their control. It felt like a wild overreach, and honestly, it was scary. But instead of backing down, I decided to fight back, and that's when things got really interesting. I spent days gathering evidence, talking to lawyers, and planning my next move. I knew Karen thrived on fear and confusion, so I wanted to bring clarity and a little shock to the table. When I finally showed up for that meeting, I wasn't just prepared. I had something that would challenge everything Karen thought she knew about control and power. What exactly did I bring that day? How did it change the game? The answer will surprise you, and it's just the beginning of this unexpected fight. The day I faced Karen again was electric. She stood there, arms crossed, expecting me to crumble under her usual tactics, threats, sharp words, and that smug look she wore like armor. But I wasn't the same person who'd left her neighborhood months ago. I came prepared, and what I brought wasn't just paperwork or legal jargon. It was something that spoke louder than any letter or court order. Karen's lawsuit wasn't just about me. It was a power play that revealed a lot about how HOS operates behind the scenes. These associations, which should help communities thrive, sometimes become tools for control and intimidation. Karen had turned hers into a personal kingdom, where anyone stepping out of line was made an example of. That day, I wasn't just fighting for my new home, I was challenging a system that too often goes unchecked. Meanwhile, Friends and neighbors who had seen Karen's behavior firsthand started reaching out, sharing their own stories of HOA drama and petty disputes blown way out of proportion. Some were afraid to speak openly, worried about retaliation, while others were quietly frustrated with the way power was abused. Their stories added layers to the conflict. This wasn't just a fight between me and Karen. It was a battle representing many who felt trapped by similar HOA tactics. On the other side, Karen's supporters believed she was protecting the community's values, and they saw me as the troublemaker stirring things up. This clash of perspectives made the whole situation messier. It wasn't just about boundaries on a map. It was about identity, control, and who gets to decide what community really means. As the legal battle loomed larger, I realized this wasn't going to be quick or easy. Every move Karen made, every argument thrown at me, only pushed me to dig deeper. The tension was building, but I was ready to see this through even if it meant exposing uncomfortable truths about neighborhood politics along the way. What happened next? Well, that's where things took an unexpected turn as the court date approached. The tension between Karen and me reached a boiling point. Every interaction felt like walking on a tightrope, where one wrong move could turn everything upside down. Karen wasn't just fighting for her HOA's rules anymore. She was fighting for her reputation. And I could tell she was getting desperate. Her messages became sharper, her emails more aggressive, and whispers in the neighborhood made it clear that this wasn't just a simple dispute anymore. It was personal. I kept thinking about how something as simple as where I chose to live had spiraled into this full-blown legal war. It was frustrating and exhausting, but I also felt a strange sense of determination. Karen's control had been a shadow over my life for too long, and now I was finally stepping out of it, even if it meant facing the storm head-on. What made it even more intense was how the community seemed divided. Some people sympathized with Karen, believing she was just protecting the neighborhood standards. Others quietly rooted for me, tired of the way HOA politics could ruin lives over trivial matters. The courtroom was becoming a battleground for much more than just property lines. It was about fairness, freedom, and standing up to overreach. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for, the day of the hearing. The room was packed, eyes fixed on us both. Karen looked as confident as ever, but I noticed a flicker of doubt in her eyes. I had brought evidence, witnesses, and a plan that would challenge everything she'd built her case on. The air was thick with anticipation, and even though I was nervous, I knew this was my chance to finally turn the tide. But just as I started presenting my side, something unexpected happened. Karen's reaction caught everyone off guard, and the tension in that room exploded. What she did next changed everything, and no one could have predicted it. Just when I thought the hearing was going to follow the usual back and forth, Karen pulled out something completely unexpected. Right in the middle of my testimony, she handed the judge a thick folder filled with documents I hadn't seen before. At first, I thought it was just more of her typical paperwork. But as the judge skimmed through, the room's energy shifted. Those papers weren't just legal notices or HOA bylaws. They contained private information about me that I never agreed to share. It was clear Karen had gone digging into my past, trying to find anything she could use against me. The judge looked up, eyebrows raised, and the murmurs in the courtroom grew louder. I felt a knot form in my stomach. This wasn't just about property lines anymore. Karen had crossed a line into personal territory, weaponizing details that had nothing to do with the case. It was an aggressive move, one that instantly raised the stakes and changed the tone of the entire battle. I glanced at Karen, expecting to see triumph in her eyes, but instead, she looked almost nervous, maybe even a little shaken. It was as if she realized that by digging into my private life, she had opened a door that could backfire. Because I wasn't going to let her bully me with secrets or distractions. I knew I had to stay focused, not just for myself, but for everyone. Who had ever been pushed around by someone like her at that moment? The courtroom wasn't just a place for legal arguments, it became a battleground of wills. The tension was thicker than ever, and I could tell Karen's confidence was starting to crack. But the fight wasn't over. If anything, it had just gotten more complicated, and I had a feeling the next moves would be even more surprising. What would happen next? How would I respond to Karen's unexpected twist? The truth behind this conflict was just beginning to unfold, and it was far from over. The courtroom fell silent as I stood up, feeling all eyes on me. Karen's move had rattled the room, but I wasn't about to let her tactics win. Taking a deep breath, I calmly addressed the judge and everyone present. I revealed the truth behind those documents, how Karen had crossed privacy boundaries, digging into personal information irrelevant to the case, simply to intimidate me. I showed evidence proving that her claims about my living situation were baseless and that the HOA's attempt to control someone outside their community was overreach. Then, I shared something no one expected, a letter from the HOA's own attorney, quietly admitting they had no legal grounds to sue me. It was clear this lawsuit was more about Karen's personal vendetta than any real rule enforcement. The judge looked carefully over the facts and, after a tense pause, ruled in my favor, dismissing the case and warning the HOA against further harassment. Karen's confident posture crumbled. For the first time, I saw frustration and defeat where there was once arrogance. But just as I started to feel relief wash over me, the judge asked for one last thing to hear from Karen's side before officially closing the case. Karen, unexpectedly, took a deep breath and confessed that her obsession with control stemmed from fear. Fear of losing the community she had built, fear of change, and maybe even fear of losing herself. She admitted she'd let that fear drive her too far. It wasn't an excuse, but it was a moment of honesty no one saw coming. The room was stunned. In that confession, the fight shifted from enemy lines to something more human, the struggle to find belonging and respect. The judge suggested mediation, encouraging both sides to find common ground beyond the courtroom. Walking out, I realized this wasn't just about winning or losing. It was about standing up for myself, facing fear, and maybe, just maybe, starting something new, not with hate, but with understanding. But as I stepped into the sunlight, I couldn't shake the feeling that Karen's story wasn't finished. Yet, some battles leave scars, and some lessons take longer to learn. After the courtroom drama settled, the weeks that followed were surprisingly peaceful. Karen and I began the mediation process, and though it wasn't easy at first, we slowly found a way to communicate without the anger and threats that had defined our relationship before. It turned out that beneath all the tension, there was a shared desire for respect and understanding, something that got lost in the noise of rules and lawsuits. The HOA also took a hard look at its policies after the judge's warning. They realized how easily power could be misused, and there were talks about making the community more welcoming rather than controlling. It was a small victory, but it felt meaningful. For me, living outside Karen's community was never about defying anyone. It was about finding a place where I could feel at home and free. Looking back, this whole experience taught me a lot about standing up for myself and the importance of setting boundaries. Sometimes, the people who try to control us do it out of fear or insecurity, but that doesn't mean we have to accept it. There's strength in facing conflict head-on, especially when it's about something as simple and important as where you choose to live and feel safe. I hope this story shows that even when things seem unfair or overwhelming, you don't have to back down. Whether it's a difficult neighbor, a strict HOA, or any kind of challenge, standing up with calm and clear facts can change the game. And sometimes, the toughest fights lead to the most unexpected lessons about people, power, and finding common ground. Thanks for watching and hearing my story. If you've ever dealt with HOA drama or difficult neighbors, I'd love to hear your experience in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more real stories and helpful tips.